I am a 29-year-old woman who recently received a call from my mother, someone I haven't spoken to in almost 5 years. She called because my sister Vanessa, 27, and her husband, who was originally supposed to be my husband, had gone through a tragedy. Let me give you some details. My sister Vanessa had an affair with my fiancé Nathan on our engagement day. Nathan and I had been together since college, and he proposed after about 5 years of dating. He threw us a surprise party the night before our engagement, and I was so happy, until about 1 a.m., when I went out into the backyard to get a better signal and found my sister and Nathan passionately kissing. I was shocked and hurt, like my world had collapsed. They didn't notice me at first, but by the time they did, it was too late. I ran to a nearby hotel, gasping for breath, and trying to process what I had seen. Then Vanessa messaged me, confessing her love for Nathan and confirming that their relationship had lasted a long time. Later, Nathan messaged me saying he had proposed to me to try and forget Vanessa, but his attempt had failed. He claimed it wasn't about me, but about him and Vanessa, that they were made for each other. He saw me as merely a temporary means to finally be with her. I stayed in the hotel for 2 days, trying to recover, and felt as though life was mocking me. After being gone for about 4 days, I returned home to pack my things and resume work, fearing I would be fired. Upon arriving, I discovered that my family had been staying with Nathan, waiting for my return. Perhaps it would have been more poignant under different circumstances, but I had left abruptly, ignoring everyone's attempts to contact me. When I finally arrived, chaos ensued. Everyone rushed to hug me and express their relief at my return. Vanessa hugged me with tears in her eyes, but I was too overwhelmed to respond. Eventually, when things had calmed down, I announced that I had only come back to pack my things and leave for good. Nathan had remained silent until then, but when I said I was leaving, he mentioned that he had already packed his bags and would be moving in with Vanessa. My family, my parents, my aunt, and my other aunt, smiled broadly, even though the situation wasn't amusing to me. Vanessa stood next to Nathan, looking sad but still smiling. I couldn't contain myself and angrily asked them why they were smiling. To me, Vanessa had broken off my engagement and taken my boyfriend of almost 5 years. There was nothing funny or pleasant about it. My mother spoke, explaining that they couldn't change the past, but they could embrace the future. They both believed that Vanessa and Nathan were meant for each other, even if their relationship had begun with infidelity. They felt sorry for each other, but they felt this was for the best. Vanessa apologized for falling in love with my boyfriend and wished she had told me sooner. She admitted that my finding out had been painful, but they both insisted that they were deeply in love and committed to each other. Then, right before my eyes, they kissed, and my mother even wiped away a tear. I couldn't contain myself and told them their behavior was disgusting, devoid of any compassion or tenderness. To my surprise, my family seemed annoyed with me, calling me a spoiled, selfish child. They thought I should have been happy for my sister instead of making it all about me. Shocked by their reaction, I demanded they leave my house immediately. I couldn't understand how they could defend Vanessa and Nathan while portraying me as the one at fault. My father intervened, advising me not to act like a child and to accept that these things happen. He wanted me to celebrate my sister finding a partner instead of feeling jealous. I couldn't bear their attitude, so I gathered some things and left without waiting for them to explain. They called after me, but I felt their happiness was more important to them than mine or what was right. They were so preoccupied with justifying Vanessa's actions that they forgot all about my feelings. After that, my family tried to contact me several times, but I didn't respond. I didn't feel I owed them anything after how badly they treated me. 2 weeks later, I received an invitation to Vanessa and Nathan's wedding, which I declined. Many of our mutual friends also declined the invitation in solidarity with me. Even some relatives who learned the truth distanced themselves from my family after witnessing how they treated me. 5 years have passed, and I've completely cut ties with my family. They occasionally try to contact me, sending birthday or New Year's greetings, but I always ignore them. I haven't blocked them. I've simply removed them from my social media following and friend lists. I wanted them to see that I'm living a great life, and maybe make them jealous. It was a petty act, but it seemed the least I could do after everything they'd done to me. Until recently, I had no idea what they'd been up to for the past few years. Then, about 4 days ago, my mother called me from an unknown number. I almost hung up immediately, but her voice sounded desperate, so I reluctantly agreed to speak with her for a few minutes. My conscience wouldn't allow me to ignore her completely. My mother explained that Vanessa and Nathan had started a business 2 years prior, but it was failing miserably. Investors had withdrawn because the project wasn't generating any profit. Despite borrowing more money, their situation had only worsened, and they were now drowning in debt pursued by loan sharks. Employees, investors, and lenders were all hounding them. My mother, aware of my comfortable lifestyle, saw me as their last resort. She begged me to lend them money, specifically about $75,000, to pay off their debts. I asked her why Vanessa hadn't contacted me directly. My mother explained that Vanessa and Nathan had forbidden her from speaking to me directly because of what had happened 5 years prior. Vanessa wasn't ready to accept my help. For months, my parents and even Nathan's family had been supporting them as best they could, but it hadn't been enough. Both families were retired and needed to support themselves. My mother felt she had no choice but to ask me for help. I could have helped them, but I didn't want to. Vanessa chose not to contact me, and I believe they forfeited any right to ask anything of me the day they cheated. I told my mother I couldn't and wouldn't help them, even if I could. My mother seemed upset and said I was being cruel, urging me to think about our family. I explained that Vanessa and Nathan hadn't thought of me when they started their affair, and my family hadn't thought of me when they supported them, so I felt no obligation to them now. I've worked hard to get where I am today, and I'm not going to give $75,000 to two people who don't deserve it. My mother started crying on the phone, calling me selfish and warning my sister and her husband that they would be in big trouble if I didn't help them. I told her I couldn't help them. Since then, my mother has been bombarding me with texts every hour, begging me to reconsider and think about my sister. She insists this isn't the time for revenge, and that I'll regret not helping them in the future. I'm confused and hesitant, and I don't know what to say. I don't want to be seen as the one to blame, but at the same time, I don't want to help them after what they've done. Am I wrong for refusing to provide financial assistance to my sister after she stole from my fiancé 5 years ago? Update 1. I've finally decided to cut ties with my family. I kept them around before because I wanted them to see my life and maybe be jealous. I also thought that cutting them off completely might make me regret it if something happened to them. But now I don't care. I should have cut them off 5 years ago. I don't know why I kept them around for so long. Refusing to help my sister now isn't frivolous. It's the logical thing to do. They've wasted so much money, and I doubt they'd ever pay it back even if I gave them $75,000. Even though I'm well off, I can't simply spend that much without expecting it back. Even if they were close friends, I would expect them to pay me back, but Vanessa and Nathan aren't close to me and aren't capable of paying me back. So there's no reason for me to help them. I've talked to some friends about this, and they agree that I acted wisely by refusing to give them the money, not out of revenge, but because it's impractical and unrealistic for them to expect help after they betrayed me. Banning my mother means she can no longer exploit my guilt, so I feel relieved and have nothing to worry about. Update 2. Something serious happened today. I was at work when my neighbor called to tell me there was a couple outside my house shouting and demanding I come outside and talk to them. My neighbor said they seemed unstable and had been making a racket for about an hour. I asked him for a description, and I was pretty sure it was Vanessa and Nathan. I rushed home immediately because I couldn't risk letting them inside. Luckily, I arrived about 15 minutes later and found them trying to pick my lock. I confronted them and asked what they were doing. I tried to call the police, but Nathan snatched the phone from my hand before I could. Vanessa and I told me they'd just come to talk and didn't want anything from me. At least not right now. I agreed to talk, but insisted it be in the garden. I wasn't comfortable inviting them into my house because of the tension. They agreed, which relieved me. Vanessa began explaining that my mother had told her about my phone call and how I'd ignored the subsequent texts and blocked them all. She told me my behavior had been unfair and that I should have moved on now, after 5 years. Nathan accused me of trying to get my family's attention with hurtful actions. Vanessa said she felt insulted by my refusal to help them, so she came to discuss the matter. She mentioned that she had managed to raise money this time by selling their house and jewelry, but that she might need more in the future, and that she needed to rely on me for that support. I told her frankly that she could not rely on me under any circumstances, because I hated her and her husband. I was furious and expressed how much I disliked them. I was so angry that I mentioned how hard I had tried to avoid hating her. Then Nathan insisted I sign a document promising future financial support. I refused, knowing it wouldn't be valid if I was forced to sign it. I asked them to leave, but Vanessa pushed me, saying I owed them as a family and couldn't shirk my responsibilities. I was shocked by her reaction and almost became violent. Instead, I grabbed my phone, which had fallen to the ground, and ran to my car. I sped off without looking back. They stayed in my house while I left, which was unfortunate for them, but I didn't stop to check. I decided to call the police and report what had happened. When I got home, the police had arrived within 20 minutes. I explained everything, and they arrested Vanessa and Nathan. I knew the charges might not be serious, but it was better to have them out of my life. Several hours have passed since then, and I haven't received a single call from any of my family. I expected someone to call by now, even from different numbers, but nothing has. I think they have either finished with the situation and will not bother me again, or they are waiting for things to calm down before trying to contact me. Update 3. Hi everyone, it's been almost a week since my last update. I started to think my family would leave me alone after I called the police about Vanessa and Nathan, but unfortunately I was wrong. Just yesterday, my parents came to my house asking if they could talk to me. They seemed more humble than Vanessa and Nathan, so I let them in. My mom started crying as soon as she came in and apologized for siding with Vanessa against me. My dad explained that after hearing about Vanessa and Nathan's arrest and how they treated me, they no longer saw them the same way. They decided to cut ties with them. My mom continued to cry while my dad expressed regret for not supporting me when I was the victim. Although I appreciated my parents finally coming to their senses, I made it clear to them that it was too late and things hadn't improved. I was used to living life on my own terms, and I no longer wanted to prioritize my family over myself. Despite their visit and apologies, I couldn't promise to work on rebuilding our relationship because I saw no point in trying to salvage what I felt was irreparably damaged, even with my own parents. They argued a bit, suggesting we could fix things if we wanted to, but my reluctance was evident. I no longer wanted to try. I expressed my respect for their efforts, but reiterated that I had ended the relationship. They seemed disappointed, but eventually left, asking if I could at least unblock them to stay in touch. I unblocked my parents, which is odd, but I had made my decision.
अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं ये जो दिन सहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा बेसर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना अब बहुत ही दूर भरता है अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं ये जो दिन सुहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा सर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना बहुत ही दर्द भरता है मेरे साए भी मुझसे अब जुदा होने को कहते हैं तुझे खोने की राहों में ये आंसू बहने लगते हैं कहाँ जाऊं कहाँ ढूंढूं मेरा वो साजो सामा तो मेरी हर एक तमन्ना तू मेरी रूह का मकां तू लकीरों में नहीं लिखा जो तुमने ख्वाब देखा था वफा की इस कहानी में फकत एक गम ही लिखा था सितारों से भी पूछता है पता तेरा कहाँ होगा मगर खामोश है दुनिया कहाँ मेरा जहाँ होगा बस एक बार मुड़ के देख ले मेरी बेबसी की सूरत मुझे है आज भी तेरी वफा की सख्त जरूरत साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर